Today, students, we are going to learn how to draw hair and work on skin tones. So you're going to need a watercolor set. It doesn't have to be expensive. You will just need that later on. And then you'll need definitely your pencil pack. So make sure you have that. And hopefully you have all your pencils and all your erasers. And you will need some Q-tips. The other thing you'll need is this sheet of paper that I have for you to help you. If you're not here or you missed class, come see me. If you're still at home, maybe sick or something like that, you can have one of your parents pick it up from the office. So first thing is first, we got this piece of paper. I'm going to get my pencil pack open and then we'll get started. All right, students, I got my pencil pack open. I'm looking at it. We have a lot of pencils that we can use. We even have the charcoal ones. We're actually just going to use these ones, the 6B through the 4H value range. You have in your sketchbook your pencil set cheat sheet, so we've already done that. We know these pencils. We're going to use these pencils to help fill this in. So I'm going to set these off to the side, and what we're going to do is fill out some of this sort of cheat sheet to help us understand how to draw hair. So that's this up area here, and then we have how to do skin here, okay? So what we need to do is think about this process when we're drawing hair. We want to start with the medium tone, then we want to add a dark tone, and then we want to add a light tone. And so if we are doing a medium tone, what we want to think of is using an H pencil. So H pencil to, let's say, B pencil. So these tones, B pencil. So these two pencils are great for medium tones. You can push it to like a 2H or a 2B if you want some more ranges, but these two pencils will do really well for your medium tones. And when we think of medium, we want this to be a neutral. So that N for neutral, okay? Then we need to do dark tones. And dark tones need to be like, let's say, a 2B pencil, 2B. You could also do a B and maybe a 4B pencil. I wouldn't go much higher than a 4B pencil. 4B is pretty high, so I would stick maybe B or 2B for your darks. And that is gonna be positive because we are adding to it, okay? And then for our lights, that is actually just going to be an eraser. And that is going to be a negative because we are taking away. So neutral is just putting in those light middle tones. Then the darks, they're going to be adding those, and then the lights, we're going to take them away. And so our first step is we're going to draw in the lines for the hair. Then our second step is going to be smudging them. G-E, smudging. And then after that, we are going to add in the dark tones. And then after that, it's going to be the light. Okay? And when we do all of these things, having the medium, dark, light, following this order, what we're going to get is a balanced contrast. Just a little bit longer. Balanced contrast. Okay? So we'll do the hair first, and then we'll get into everything else. So I want to do, let's say, these are three typical types of hair. We have long and straight, we have sort of longish curly, and then we have tight curly, or a natural hairstyle. So, three different complexions of people. We'll get to that in skin later, but let's get to the hair. So, I'm going to pick a selection of H or B pencil. I'm going to start with my lighter tone, so I'm going to go H pencil first. And what I want to do is, with the hair, I want to draw lines. And I want to draw those lines so that the hair is going in the direction. I've outlined everything, but I just want to correct it and make these lines. So I'm going to take a strand of hair, and let's say this person has a part. I'm going to take this strand of hair and pull it up and over and I'm going to extend that line. I'm going to just add tons of these little lines, and I don't want it to be like making short ones, because this person has long hair. So I want to trick the eye in believing that this person has long flowing hair, and it is going all the way down, okay? And then I'm going to extend that. And the hair grows out of the head, so it grows up, and then once it reaches a certain length, it starts falling over. So we want to give that the illusion that it's falling over, okay? And if we were trying to stop in the same spot every time, it wouldn't give us that illusion. So like if all our lines end right here, that becomes kind of problematic because the hair kind of flows down, okay? So just extend these lines where they need to go, and so you can follow where they go, and you're gonna get some hair in here. Just extending them so that one hair doesn't always stop in the same spot. Now, right here, there's some shapes of hair, and so you can just fill in those shapes of hair with the lines. And not every hair falls in the same spot, so maybe that's her shoulder, something like that. And the hair sort of tapers down into like chunks. If you become a hairstylist, you'll look at people's hair a lot and think about the shadows and the lights and how it falls down and which way it goes. And having that will just help you be a better hair care professional. Okay, so we're getting some of these lines. And we're thinking about these lines. You can see this side of the hair compared to that side of the hair. We're looking at these shapes and we're getting them in. Now when you get to this area, I'm just gonna take my blending tool, and for this case, it's a Q-tip. I'm gonna blend that in. So I'm just smudging these. Step 2, smudge. So I'm gonna blend that in, and that's gonna give us some value here, but not get rid of our lines. And so I am just blending it in and getting a nice medium tone to this person's hair. Now this person's hair might be blonde, it might be brunette, whatever it is, we're going to make it happen. So we're just following the steps, and you can use different tones if you need to make it happen. So, blend with me, will you? So, we have one side of the hair, and then we have this other side of the hair. So, I'm going to do that side. Please work with me. Now we're going to blend those hairs in. So, blending away. Okay, we blended it. Now we got some hair. And as we're working up, now we need to go darker. So I'm gonna grab a B pencil or a 2B pencil. I'm gonna go 2B today. And what I wanna do is find the darker spots in here. And those darker spots are going to be closer to the face, because there'll be like a shadow there. Anywhere that it bends. Oh, right. So, looking at the dark areas, and I am just finding where those shadows would be, where the hair lays on top of another hair, below the neck the hair is going to get darker in this area. Any of these folds, I'm just going to give some layer of depth here, okay? Also right here, where the hair comes up, and sort of bends over, there's usually a dark area. Like right here, underneath there is a dark area. Any of these folds in the hair, it's gonna give us some depth there and really help us be able to sell the illusion that this hair has some things. So something that will help you while you're doing this is if you're looking, let's say at his reference photo, is to blur your eyes and then look and see in that reference photo where all the dark spots are in the hair. Anywhere there's like a shadow or a hair that's like a clump of hair that goes on top of another hair, you can fill that in. And usually it's like under or near the neckline. Any of these things will give you some depth. Usually towards the back of the hair and the head, there's usually like a shadow of darkness of hair. We're just putting in this darker value here, so we have some illusion of that depth is going. Now here's the thing, a lot of people just want to chunk in that little color, but you really want to give it that illusion that it's going with the hairs that you already have. Because if you start coloring like sideways, it's going to ruin that illusion. So we want to follow the lines of the hair and give people as much chances to believe that what you have created is actually popping off the page, okay? Once you've got all those values in there for the dark part of the person's hair that you're drawing, this person, what we're gonna do is get a clean side of our Q-tip, and then we're gonna blend those dark portions in, because we don't want them to be like popping out. We just need them to blend in to what we're doing. So we're giving it a tone. We'll shift, because if it was just pure black, it would stand out too much and then become less believable. So we're just blending that in. And as we blend these in, this value, we can make some adjustments if we need to. Get more dark spots in if we need it. Just blending it in. So it really sort of starts standing out. Remember, this is just practice. Okay. So now we got our mediums, we got our darks. If we need more darks, we just go in with that same pencil we used, and like, we're adjusting it. This right here doesn't have a highlight. It's actually dark. And so I'm gonna put in some dark strands, and I'm actually putting in the dark strands like their actual hair, just these lines, and have those lines go down into the other hair. I'm not pushing really hard because I don't want to ruin the paper. I'm just following it down. And this is going to be up to you of what you're capable of doing and also who you're drawing. So you're going to see that, and you're going to make some choices. And once you feel like you got it, then you'll go back in and blend those lines. Because we don't want them to stand out, we want them to blend in. So smudge those away so that we have those dark areas in there. Now that we got that, we can go on to the light part. The light part is just taking an eraser. I like a nice sharp eraser like this one. You can also take your kneaded eraser. And remember, with a kneaded eraser, you pinch and pull and push it together, and you can make a line. This is a really good one because you can get, say, a really sharp point. And so I can use that to make some highlights. And so I'm just going to drag my eraser through some of those spots and trying to make some highlights in there. So I'm trying to think about where the sun would touch it, where the light is in this drawing. So, okay, so these lighter areas, maybe this person has some hair. I'm not trying to take out all the value. I'm just trying to think about the highlights now. And this kneaded eraser is going to blend out some of the details of some of the lines, and the less details I have, the more hair-like it looks like. Because when you look at it, hair, it doesn't really see every strand of hair. You see some strands of hair, but not a ton of them. And so by blending and erasing, we can get something that looks a little bit more realistic just by taking out some of the detail. Just taking out some of that detail. And so if the person, let's say, is blonde, we'll erase more things. If they have black or brunette hair or red hair, we can add color or tone in later. We're just getting some sort of realistic thing. And so you're gonna make some adjustments as you go and be like, okay, this is a little dark, that's fine, I'll erase that. This is a little dark now too. If you need to go back, you can go through the steps like you did before, and you can make an adjustment where you need it. And just follow that step of doing the lines, doing smudging, doing dark, doing the lights. And so, your eraser might get like this. Ooh, dirty. Don't erase with a dirty eraser. Knead it up. Squish it back together. Get a new point. Because when you're dragging that dirty eraser around, you're actually just gonna drag pigment or value around, and you might shift it from what you want. And so, if you get a nice clean one, say like this, so I'll clean again, make it and shape it into what I want it, a nice little point. Here's a nice little point. I can go in and make some tiny little highlights up here, because the top of the head probably has some highlights, because sun or sunshine or lights are usually above people's heads. So I can put that in. If it gets dirty, clean it up. Same thing with your white eraser, if you're using this one, and you get nice little lines in here, and they start getting dirty, just take your thumb, rub it clean, start again. So that's how you do like a long, straight-haired person's. If we went with something a little bit more curly like this gentleman, same thing, same promise. Lines first, use an H or B pencil, so I'll get my H pencil, and so lines. He has curly-ish hair, and so what I'll do is from the forehead up, it's gonna curve out and then back around. So I'm just gonna put those lines in to give it that shape that his hair is moving in that direction. It's gonna do that over here too, but it's gonna curve out like that. So he has some volume, so he has some curving this way. Actually, it's better to do it from the forehead line, because that is where it's going to come out. So and then it's going to come back this way. He has hair that comes back like this. And now, no, you can see some of his hair is kind of wild. So like if we're looking at this one right here, it might come up and then down like that. Just adding those lines in, giving the direction and the flow of the hair, okay? When we get to the side, the hair is gonna come down like this, and might have some curls in it, because he has curly hair. And so like his hair doesn't just flow in one direction, it kind of curves, okay? So if that's the case, they don't all have to end in the same spot. Because like if I did them all ending in the same spot, it's gonna look weird. So to give that idea that curly hair is going and sort of disheveled and it's kind of uncontrollable, which is wild and full of life, that is totally okay. That is totally okay to have these lines going. And he's gonna have probably tighter curls at the bottom of his hair. So it's gonna come out and curl around like this. When tight curls happen, they get a little bit closer together. Now here's the thing, you see how dark it is up here? It needs to be actually darker in the back of here as well. So I'm just going to add some lines back here to really sort of give that shape that his hair is going around the back of his head. And he also has a beard too. And so for beards, what we can do is use the side of our pencil and just sort of do some curly actions, because his beard's kind of curly. And it's really tight for beard hair. You could do straight ones, little straight lines like this, especially for the mustache, because it's not so curly. And the mustache comes from below the nose out. And it sort of curves the other direction and goes down. And then we'll continue with those tight little curls in his beard. And then up here for his soul patch. And for his eyebrows, oh, we can do the eyebrows of this person too. Eyebrows, they start from the center of the face and go outward. So center and going outward. And for her, same thing, center, outward, center, outward. So, those eyebrows don't really work really well, right? So all we're gonna do is blend them in a little bit, because we just need the idea that there is an eyebrow there. And you get it. Same with him, eyebrow in, just blended, and you sort of get that idea. So the next thing we're gonna do is blend this guy. We did the lines, so now it's time to smudge. So we're gonna smudge all these lines here. I'm actually gonna bring this down. I forgot that part of his area of his hair, but it's sort of further away, so you just blend it in and we'll get to it. Just blending in his hair with this medium tone. We're not using our fingers to blend, because if we did that, the oils from our hand would ruin the paper and make it very difficult to draw. So wherever he has hair, we're just blending that in, okay? So well, we got his hair, we got the medium tones, now it's time to go to the dark tones. So we want a B pencil or a 2B pencil. I'm gonna do 2B on here because he actually has really dark hair, unlike this person over here. So that darker tone is gonna help us. Now what we're gonna do is think about his head and put in those dark values of those lines. So it's not everywhere. The closer to his head is gonna be darker. Further away from his head, like over here, is gonna probably be dark and kind of blurry. So we're not gonna see as much detail. So I can fill this whole section right here with this dark tone and leaving some white areas for highlights so I don't have to erase them later. Boom. Then it's gonna be dark closer to the head over here on this side. I'm gonna follow those lines back. Just filling in some tones. Then in the back of the head, I'm gonna bring those forward. Then underneath, it's gonna be dark as well, but I wanna leave some areas here so that you can see those curls. You can have some flyaways as well. And with people with really black hair, like myself, sometimes it's hard to see all the lines of the hair or the really dark areas, because a lot of the hair is just going to be black. It's just going to be a black sort of blob. And when you're drawing it, it becomes kind of difficult because you can't see it all at the beginning. What really makes it stand out is the highlights that we're going to put in. So it's a process of getting these things in where they need to be. And for really dark hair, we really need to put in a lot of this dark value throughout the hair. So we're going to use more of our dark than what we would in, let's say, with someone with lighter hair. Okay. For this beard, we'll do those little round circles again. These round little circles, we're leaving them kind of not as tight so that some light gets in there. And we'll go in with our dark pencil for his mustache. Remember going down and out. So, then we're back to blending. So we're gonna blend these in with our medium tones. And if we need to, we can go back and add more dark if needed. But we're gonna get this guy's hair popping. And when I'm blending, I'm actually like sort of following the curves sometimes. Sometimes I make it nice and flat. Go in the beard, so blend that in. Like so. His mustache needs some blending. We'll go back in his eyebrows a little bit more. Boom, we got some hair for this dude. So we did the lines, we did the smudging, we done dark. If we need to do more dark, grab your pencil. Find those dark areas. I want the back of his head even darker, okay? To really show that it's flowing backwards. Giving him some dimension around there. This could be darker. And the quality of your lines will matter. So if you have them short and choppy like mine, it's gonna make it look a little bit more rough. If you do nice smooth lines like that, it'll look like it's a little bit more professional. Like the person's got like a nice haircut from like a nice salon and they didn't do it themselves. Okay, so we just have this hair. And if you need to, you go back and then you follow the steps. So I'm adding more black value. So I need to smudge this again. So I'll take my Q-tip and smudge those areas so that they don't stand out so much. I want them to stand out a little, but not enough that it just like, that's a black line. Okay. Once I have that, then it's back to the old kneaded eraser. Get a nice point, like so. And then what we're gonna do is add some highlights where the light hits it. So it's gonna hit the top of his head. There's gonna be some in the front. There's gonna be some on the side. It's not gonna be everywhere because he has black hair. Your eraser's getting dirty. You can knead it, rip it apart, squish it back together, find a new area that's nice and clean, make a new point. And then go in, make some highlights. Make it shiny. Now if you want a wet look, you would put, let's say this person's coming right out of the ocean and their hair just looks perfect immediately after the ocean. Well, we want to make it look kind of wet. Well, there's a way to do that. So you get a highlight like that. And then let's say this highlight right here. I'm gonna take my B pencil, and what I'm going to do is sort of isolate it. So then it becomes like a really bright spot in this hair. Like it's a bright white in his hair. And I can even take this and make it a little bit brighter. And having that contrast right next to the black, it's gonna make it pop up a little bit. And you can do this over and over and over again. You can even do this in his beard. We smudged it a little bit, but maybe his beard has some highlights in it. The sun hitting it or something like that. You can take it down by stamping it, but you're gonna get some things. Oh, something else I didn't mention with the beard. We need to make the bottom of the beard, sorry about this, a little bit darker because this is underneath the neck and underneath the lip, and so this is going to give us dimension. So having the bottom of the neck, having those layers, and then blending those up it gives the curvature of the face a little bit more. It'll help give that roundness that we're looking for. So that's how I would do like medium curled hair. Now we have this natural hairstyle over here, and it's the same things, we're just gonna do a little bit of a different technique. So I'm going to use my H pencil, right? H pencil lines first. This time, because we have a more natural, we have tighter curls, what we're going to do is just add these little curls. We're gonna think about it as texture. And you can have it go over the line because, you know, hair does not stay in a perfect line. That is just to show you the shape of the head. And when we think about heads, we need to think about them as being spheres. And so like if we were drawing a circle and then we were shading, right? And we have the highlight and then we have, you know, our core shadow and everything like that. We need to do that to give dimension to the head. So if we're going to show that this person's head with these tight curls is got some dimension, the side of them that is furthest from the light, so let's say the light is right here in front, it's gonna have some dark curls. It's gonna have some darker, denser value to it than, let's say, right up here in front. And so we're going to think about where our light is when we're working on these midtones, and the looseness, like up here, we have bigger curls. Back here, it's gonna be tighter curls. Now, I'm not a professional at drawing hair at all, but this is just one technique. I'm sure there's other techniques out there that you could do. So then we'll put some value in here, or some curls in here. And I'm spacing these circles out a little bit more because I want it to show that there's a lightness in here. I'll put some in around here. Okay, and then what we'll do is blend. So we got lines in. Blending it in. We have some texture there. Now, what we're going to do is go in with our B pencil again, and we're going to do the same things. But this time, instead of thinking just of the edges, we're going to think of defining shapes, because it's not a flat tone. There's like grooves and dips, just like this hair, The hair falls and moves in different spots. Even though it looks full and it looks like it is in one dome shape on this person, it doesn't mean that they don't have dimension to their hair. They actually have a lot of dimension, and we can capture that dimension by putting in these highlights of dark spots that create density, creates a shape and movement. And we can look at someone's hair and capture what they have going on by really trying to look at the shapes and the value and capture what they have. Because not everybody's hair is exactly the same. I mean, I could go and try to get Jennifer Aniston's hair or Charles Barkley's hair or someone else's hair, and it'll look completely different on me. Okay? So once we get that dark tone in, we'll grab our Q-tip and smudge that and bring it up and into the hair. This will give us dimension. This will give us some area to work. We can get a lovely little tone there. If we need to, let's say we actually want some texture up in there, you can go back and adjust anything. So as you're working on this, you can adjust as much as you need to for hair. Well, for anything. You're the artist. You get to make the call and the shots. Okay. For their eyebrows, use that B tone. Remember, it's from the center out Center out. Boom. Now, highlights, same things. We are going to use a clean kneaded eraser or a white kneaded eraser. And this time, I'll just show you with a white eraser, we're just going to make, like I'm just drawing little circles in here to pop up. And I'm trying to keep the circles the same size as the circles I was making with the dark tones. So like little C's, maybe even a little G action in there to make it really pop up. Now, you notice this is kind of light. I'm like, it doesn't look as dark, let's say this guy's hair. So I can always go back and adjust. So if I want to make it darker, I just add more dark value to it. Now the thing is, it's always easier to add more value than take it away. So if you start lighter on every drawing and you adjust as you go, as you see things, and add more dark value to it, it'll be easier and it'll be a lot less erasing. If you need to, blur your eyes, see where you need it to go, that dark value. Add that value in. No, did I? No, that's just a hair. Okay. Then you can blend it. And then adjust. Oh, I need it darker. All right, I'm gonna go darker. Something that I tend to do if I'm drawing someone with more natural hair, try to put enough value in there so you can see the texture, because the texture is important. I mean, hair is just as much as the texture of this hair is important, and the texture of this hair is important, and the texture of this hair is important. Like you feel it, you touch it, you rub your hands through your hair. You want people to believe that when you are drawing your portraits of people. So you want them to believe that that's hair that you could actually feel and touch. And so give them that texture in there, the implied texture that you are really creating some volume. Okay, and then I can go in with my white eraser or my kneaded eraser, give some highlights there, put the highlights right next to some really black areas or value. We'll make it pop up a little bit more. And you can adjust it up and up and up and up and down, down, down. So we got hair, hair, hair. Perfect. They're looking pretty good. Yes, we can adjust any of these. This is just where we want it to be right now. The next thing we're gonna work on is skin tone. So once you feel like you got hair done and it looks right and it looks like it's nice and you got a balanced contrast going on, then we can move on to skin tones. So, great students, I have myself set up. I got my thing I'm gonna paint. I got my watercolors. I got my brush inside. I have 2 cups of water, one for clean, one for dirty, and then I got some paper towel, in my case tissue paper because I'm at home. So let's get ourselves set up for watercolors. So remember, the thing you're painting needs to be on the correct side. So if I'm painting this and I'm right-handed, then I'm gonna put my palette on this side. I'm gonna have my clean water at the top. I'm gonna have my dirty water at the bottom. And then I'm going to have my paintbrush and my paper towel in my hand that I'm not painting with. So, set yourself up to be successful. This is what it would look like if you're a right-handed person. If you're a left-handed person, right? It's just opposite, flipping this around. like so. Make sure that your page is isolated onto the surface. So my page would go like this. I'd have my clean water up here, my dirty water down below, and then I would have my paper towel in my opposite hand, okay? So, let's get set up. Students, when we start painting skin, what we need is a base skin tone. So that is the majority of what their color of their skin is. Then what we need is a slightly darker version of the base. Then what we'll need is a blush, and not like a makeup blush, but similar, like the capsules of your cheeks when you blush. And then what we need is a shadow. So those are how we're gonna paint. We're gonna paint in this order. Base, dark, and that's more of a darker version of the base, and then blush, and then shadow. I need to actually charge these. So I'm gonna take some of my clean water, right, from the top of my palette, and charge the colors I know I need. So I need, for this person, sort of a magenta color, which is down here. Sorry, I'll move this off to the side so you can see. Charging it. I'm gonna take my water, put it in here, my dirty water. I'll clean out my brush. I'll get some clean water and go into, let's say, a yellow. My yellow is kind of disappearing, so I'll need to make a yellow. Clean it off. Get some clean water. I might need an orange. So I'm just charging these up. So I'm just charging the colors I need, okay? I might need like this sort of tone here. It's like a peachy color or orange. And then I'll definitely need some blue or purple. So I'll charge those up, okay? So for this first color, I need a baseline. So what is that baseline gonna be? So what I'm gonna do is take some water and put it on my palette, just make a little puddle. And hopefully your palette is clean. So I can take and dip this on here. I'm not getting maybe like a quarter size, hopefully. Okay, and then what I want, or a dime size, that works. I'm gonna take a little bit of this orange and add it to it, and that's really orange. So I know I need a little bit of red to that. So I'll take a little bit of red, add that to that. Now that's way too red. So I can clean off my brush. I can try to get some yellow, add yellow to it. And that gets me a good-ish skin color. Now, if I didn't have all these extra colors and I just had 3 colors, same thing. Same thing here. What I could do is take a little bit of yellow. Let's start off with that. Add it here. And then once I have that yellow, I would just take a little bit of like a magenta or a red, add it to it. And then I would take just a tiny, tiny, tiny bit of blue and add the blue to it, and I get sort of a brown color, okay? Now if I want to make different versions of this, just take some clean water, make a puddle, and then I can dilute it, and I can make a lighter version that might be more of that person's skin tone. So I can make different versions of it. So now I have a light and I have a dark. If I want to use this one, I can do the same thing. Take a little bit of that, add it to it, and now I got a light and a dark. It's more peachy, okay? So I'm not sure which one I'm gonna use on this person. I might use all 4, but we'll see. I also need a blush. So what I could do is use this as the skin color and then use this as the blush, and then I need a shadow. So I'll take some clean water, add it down here, and your shadow is going to be like a bluish, purple tone-ish. So I'll take some of that blue, add it down here. So now I have a base, I have a darker version of that base, I have a blush, okay? So I'll just take these things off to the side and put my drawing back on here. And the first thing I'm gonna do is make sure my brush is clean, like so. I'm gonna take some clean water and just paint the surface, because I want this to be a wet on wet technique. And yes, I have some drawing there and it might smudge it, but this is just for learning purposes. You might do it in ink a little bit more later on. Okay, so I'm just going over her whole skin, just painting it wet so it absorbs into it. Now I'm going to let it dry. I can also take my paper towel if it's too wet and find a clean spot on it and just dab it dry so it speeds up the time. Because I don't want it to run all over the place, but I want it to go where I want it to. So the first part is to take that light base. So I'm taking that light base and I'm just going to go around the edges of her. Edges. Take some more of that light base, bring it around down here on the nose a little bit. As you see, I'm not painting the whole thing, just taking this light base, just painting around the edges of this person. Okay. And I can take some more of that light base, just put it in certain areas. And here's the thing, once we have that light base down, what I'm gonna do is clean off my brush and take some water, clean water, and I'm going to take that clean water and I'm going to expand it out so that light comes in. And I'm not doing everywhere. I'm leaving some white of the paper, that's fine, but I'm just gonna blend it out a little bit so that we have sort of that light base there, okay? If I need to, I can bring it down a little bit, whatever it needs to be. And I might let this dry a little bit so that it doesn't blend too close to it. And if I was better, I'd have all three of these and we could work on them all at the same stage. But that's not the case. So we'll just wait. I was thinking about it, I was thinking we could do these base layers as well. And what's nice is human skin sort of runs in the same tone. So like this darker version of my base that I made for this lady could be this guy's base. And then I can make a darker version of that for him. And then that darker version would probably be her base. So I can do this all out a little bit more. So I can add another puddle here. So I have that lady's base, her darker version, that guy's base, this darker version of that. And then that lady's base at the very end, that is probably her base right there. So his darker version, her base. We'll see how that goes. Okay? Just take some clean water and paint it up. Just around the edges, right? Find that edges. Paint his face with that clean water. Looks like my brush has a little bit of pigment on from the previous person. This color right here, that dark version for her, but his light version. And we'll paint that around the edges, like so. Leaving some white there. Okay. So now for this lady, same thing, clean off my brush, get some clean water, paint up her face with the clean water. we could do his neck too. Okay, so we'll go back and do his neck real quick. Just around the edges, give him that base. Leaving some white spots in there. And then for her, we're gonna take that darker version, his dark. So we'll take this darker version right here and give it to her as her base. So then we'll just go around the edges. Just go around the edges. And then the same as we did with this lady before, we'll clean off our brush, and then we'll take some clean water and just blend them down. Clean off my brush, take some clean water, and blend that out. Like so. So now we have 3 versions of this. And we just used pretty much one color for all of these people, but we got different shades. This middle color that we use for this guy as his base, we're gonna take that color and add it for her dark. So we're on B now. So for the dark one, what I'm thinking about is shadows. So underneath her eyes, there'll be some shadows because they're sort of 3-dimensional. On the side of the face, there's some shadows. The side of the nose, there's some shadow. Underneath the nose, there's some shadow. So we're just gonna really think about where are the shadows on this person. So I'm just taking that darker version. In the neck, there'll be a lot of shadows. Those will start giving us dimension. Underneath the nose, up here. Now, if you get anything like this where it's like, oh, it looks like she's got a black eye. Well, just take some clean water on a clean brush and blend it out. Blend it up, blend it down. Give yourself, so you don't have any hard lines there. And that'll make it look a little bit more realistic. Okay? So, just blending those things out. So this is her dark version of her. And so we're gonna go to his dark version, which was her dark is his base. So we gotta go to this one. And the same thing for him. We're gonna find where it is the darkest. So like under his eyes, like the hood of his eyes is gonna be darker right here. Underneath that, it's gonna bring some life because it's gonna give him some volume to his face. Under his nose, it's gonna be darker right here. Maybe the tip of his nose is gonna be darker. You can see it's starting to bleed away. This happens to you and you're like, ah, it's getting out of control. Don't worry. You have your paper towel, you can just blot it up. So you might have some underneath his eyes that's a little bit darker. Down here. Ooh, see, it's getting out of control. Ah, I don't want that. Just dab it away. Dab it away. Okay? So you don't have to get too stressed out if it gets out of control. If it's still wet, you can still work with it. His neck's gonna be darker, especially underneath here by the beard. It's gonna be darker. Right here by his ear's gonna be darker. It's gonna have some darkness up here on the sides of his mouth, or on the sides of his face. Underneath his lip is gonna be darker. Just finding those areas and adding them in, okay? So it gives dimension. Okay. So we used her base layer as his darkness. So we need to make a darker layer for her. And what I would do is just take straight brown and build up that color a little bit more on your palette. If you need to, you can dilute it with some water. But what I'm gonna do is just use that brown to really give some highlights. And if it gets out of hand, remember, it gets out of hand like that, just dab it away. Just dab it away, okay? Because we're looking to give this person the look that they need to really help the illusion that that person is there. And this is the person that we're creating, okay? So we're looking for those dark areas. Underneath the hairline is usually dark. The ear is usually darker because it's further away from us. Underneath the neck is dark. Underneath the lip is usually dark. Underneath the eyes usually dark. And like that looks all right, but it doesn't look great. So I can take my brush, clean it out, get some clean water and blend that smoother so it's not such a sharp line. And by doing so, make this person look a little bit more realistic. Okay. Just blending that out with some clean water. Okay. Now, if it gets too light in some areas, you can just take some clean water and blend it to be where you need it to be, okay? So we have 3 skin tones. Now the thing is to make a blush. So the blush, I'm just using this sort of pinkish blush that we made earlier. What I'm gonna do is put it on the places that I know the sun would touch them. So like think of where you get sunburn, in your cheeks, right? Your cheeks get burnt. I'm also gonna use this blush on their lips. Okay, your chin gets a little burnt, your forehead gets a little burnt. Blend that in. The nose usually gets a little burnt. Just like on the tip here. Now, you can take your brush, nice clean brush, with some clean water, and you can blend those out so it's not so stark of a line. You get something a little bit more realistic in a way. Okay. Same thing for this guy. He has blush. We all have blood underneath our veins. And so that blood encapsulates in certain areas like your cheeks, your nose, your forehead, your chin, anywhere that's really sort of stands out. Now those looks like, what? Mr. Matthews, he looks like he is got the chicken pox. Well, just taking some clean water on a clean brush and blending that down. Now if I got way too much, that's okay, because what I can do, he looks like he's really sunburned. Well, take my paper towel and sort of blot it and take it down. Now he's got some color in his face. If I don't like that color, I can go back as to his base color and then go back over it or to the darker one and then add that on. I can also blend it out so I can give him more of his natural color back if I need to. So if I lose any of this detail, I can always go back. I can work it to where I want it to. You can't work it forever, granted, but you can get a lot of that stuff toned down so he doesn't look completely pink. but he has some life in him, okay? Now for her, same thing. Just taking a little bit of that blush color and then finding those areas. The cheeks, the nose, this side of this cheek, definitely the lips. It's gonna have the blush. The chin will have some. And then a bit on the forehead. Blend that out into the neck. And you get 3 different skin tones. So, we have not much left to do. We just have what's left. We did the base, we did the darker version of that, then we added the blush, now it's the shadow. So we're gonna take that blue in our palette, and you could use a purple if you wanted to. We're just gonna take that blue, just a little bit of it. I'm gonna water it down a little bit more on my palette. For this person, I'm gonna add this blue right. Oh no, it got out of control. Not what I wanted it, so I'll just dab it away. I'm gonna let it dry actually. I put a lot of water on here and it needs to set up. I can't do anything as I just saw because that blue is just gonna go take over. So I'm just gonna let it pause, let it dry, and then I'm gonna come back and visit it. All right, students, we're back. This is pretty close to drying the way we want it. So I'm gonna take that blue again and I'm gonna add it underneath here. And that's a little bit too light. So I get a little bit darker blue. I'm just adjusting up as I need to. So I need to put some blue underneath there. Put some blue underneath her nose in that little triangle to show shadow. Underneath this lip, okay? Underneath the eyes and above here, there's gonna be a shadow. So I'm just gonna put that blue in to give us this idea that there's some dimension here. I can even put a blue up here, okay? And over here next to her eye. Now, those are just some lines, right? What I'm gonna do is take my brush and some clean water, clean brush. I'm just gonna blend this down so it doesn't have such a harsh line. Blend that down so it doesn't have such a harsh line. Same thing, just blend this out so it looks like just a bit of shadow is on this person's face, okay? Don't need the whole thing in shadow, but just having a little bit of that shadowy tone there is going to make a lot of difference, okay? So I can bring this down. And there, just a little bit up, maybe from the hair, there's a shadow. I can blend that out, so there's no strong line there. And that shadow is gonna give us dimension, that the person's coming forward or out. You can adjust any of this, so if that's too bright, you can take your clean paper towel, just dab it down. You can go back, add more blush on it, whatever you need to make it look like that person, okay? Same thing for this guy. Take that blue. You're gonna find those places that are dark for him, so like underneath his eyes, that's gonna be kind of dark. Underneath his nose, that will be dark. This little pocket next to his face. Over here is gonna be a little bit of a shadow. Underneath his neck is definitely gonna be a shadow. Let's blend those out and down and around. Trying to just give some dimension and depth to this person. Underneath his eyes, I know mine are a little bit, especially since I gotten older. Always have sort of a shadow underneath my eyes. Young people don't have it as much. But just adding a little bit of blue in there gives it a little bit of a dimension shift. Gives it a little bit of a pop. Same thing for this person over here. And you can just do this if you want with darker tones, but like that little bit of blue gives, it's not like a black where it's really popping in your face. That little blue really just sort of sets it off. And you can even make the bottom lip blue. Sorry, not the bottom lip. Let me erase that. Oops, oops, oops. It is the top lip that needs to be blue, because the top lip is at an angle. And so when it's at an angle, you're not going to see it as much. So the top lip is always a little bit darker. So if you want to make the top lip blue and that bottom lip that blush color, it's going to give you a more realistic look of that person. That shadow, just hold this out around the nose. On this edge right here. And you can take your pencil. You can even just take a dry brush and manipulate the water already instead of taking clean water. So if your work is too watery, you can do that. Now we have 3 different people with their color. Now you can add color for their eyes if you want to. Let's say this person has green eyes. Just take some green, pop it in there. Whoop, whoop. Right in the pupil. Boom. Then I can take a little bit of black once that dries and pop it in there for the iris in the center. For this guy, probably most likely has brown eyes. So take some brown, just dab it in there. And she probably has brown eyes too. So same thing, take some straight brown. Make them hazel by lighting them up. Or we can take some straight color and just dabbing it in there. If it starts running like that, oh no! Don't worry, you have your paper towel. You can dab it up. And then go back and work on it again. To do these kind of details, like the eyes and stuff, I'd wait for your paper to be completely dry and then work wet paint on a dry piece of paper, that wet on dry technique. Then you can control your lines a little bit better, and you can go in and get some straight lines if you need it. And you can make things look really, really interesting as you go. Okay, take clean brush. And you can just paint the color in. They're brown, okay. I want them to have more red hair, okay. I can just paint their hair red. Maybe. And because I have the value in there already, it's gonna give me the lights, it's gonna give me the darks, it's gonna give me the shadows. All I have to do is put in the color of the hair on top of it. I can also take that hair and blend it out and dilute it, so there's some softer areas or some darker areas, but because I drew all the hair first, like everything's gonna be there. If I want some highlights, like those highlights are in there that I put, I can take my paper towel and just sort of erase those areas, and I can get a highlight in there as well. So, it is yours to play around with. So like, let's say I want to do brown hair on that side. I could just paint this in brown. And I don't have to paint everything. It makes it easier if you just paint the highlights or leave the highlights, so those areas like down here. Let me get some more. So I might like skip some areas so like that highlight stays in. If I want to, I can go back in with my paper towel like before and erase some stuff while it's wet. That'll give me like lighter tones. You could do the same with hair over here. If the person has brown hair or black hair, I mean, if you have black hair, just take some black paint and you can give it some texture. Or you can do like a wash, like if you want to do the back of it. So it looks like it's a little bit more not standing out. You can do that. Sorry, I forgot to tell you all about this. Some things I just think of like, oh, I know that. I forget. You can even add color into people's hair. So like, let's say you're at a party and there's like a blue light shining. Hair usually catches that light. So you can put like color in there to reflect the hair, especially black hair. Black hair really reflects a lot of color, especially if it's shiny. So you can put color in there. Same with him. Let's say we're going to a party and there's red light or purple light. Same thing, you can add purple in here where the light would hit. So you can use this however you like to make your person come to life. Now I can say I think we've covered everything. Good luck. Can't wait to see what you make with it.